This video was sponsored by Casper.com, the company that made my mattress, the one that my wife and I have been using for the last 2.5 years. I've put a link down in the description so you can get one of these super comfortable mattresses for yourself, and if you check out with the promo code TheKingOfRandom, you'll slash another $50 off the price. Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the lab. I've got a very exciting DIY project for you today because I'm going to show you how to dig down into the depths of the earth and make your own clay. Now this project here was inspired a couple of years ago when I stumbled across a channel called Primitive Technology, all about a guy in Australia who goes out into the woods and uses nothing but the materials around him to build cool things like houses, looms, and even metal foundries. And the basis for all of his experiments involved clay. So a couple of years ago this really got me thinking, if we were stranded out in the middle of nowhere, what exactly would it take to make some good clay? That's exactly what we're exploring in this video today. Now to gather up the materials for this experiment today, I just went down to the local river and walked down beside the riverbed. I found a nice little place under the bridge where there's a lot of traffic, took a second to enjoy the scenery, and then started digging down into the dirt as close to the water as I felt comfortable. Now the reason I went for dirt by the riverbed is because clay is sedimentary, which means it flows down to the lowest point. And while I actually have extracted clay from dirt from my backyard, I find it's much better down by the river. So take a trip down to your local river, grab some dirt, and you want to be looking for the dirt that when you squish it, kind of has that plasticky feel. It sticks together into one big clump. If you find something like that, you're well on your way to making clay. So here we are guys, we've got a nice little amount of dirt here, and the first thing to notice about it is it's not very clean. There's all kinds of rocks, there's sand, there's little sticks and twigs. This stuff is very, very dirty, and even though you can squish it and turn it into different shapes, it's not super clean. You can see all the organics and those large chunks of rock sticking through. So to actually extract the clay out of this dirty mixture, we're going to need to put it through a very, very simple process, and the only things we're going to need to make that happen are a couple of different containers and a little bit of water. So quick update guys, you can see that I just added a little bit of water to this mixture and I used my glove just to reach down there and stir it around. What we're actually doing is we're breaking up all the different pieces in the dirt itself. We've got rocks, we've got sand, we've got clay, we've got organic materials, and what happens is as we mix it with water, they separate to their different layers. Now over time, the clay and sand all settles to the bottom, so what we want to do is stir this vigorously. We want to get everything suspended and then give it about 5 seconds to settle and then transfer all the liquid into a separate container. Watch what happens when we do. Sweet. Now if we stop pouring right here, you can see most of the heavy stuff is left behind. If we look down the bucket, you can see gravel, rocks, everything that's heavy. You can even see a bit of sand left here on the bottom of the bucket. So we can essentially take this stuff and we can throw it away because we're not going to need these big rocks. What we're after now is all the stuff that's contained in this liquid here. Now the second pass is going to be a little bit different. We're going to need something like a strainer. You could use your shirt, you could use your socks, or in this case I'm just going to use a strainer for convenience. We're going to go ahead and clean out this container, then we're going to pour all this liquid through the strainer back into it, and hopefully that'll remove most of the organic material. It almost looks like concrete gravel. It's very cool. So I've washed and cleaned out this white bucket. We got our little strainer here. As I said, you can use your shirt or any kind of cloth material. We're just trying to strain out those organics. But remember that before we pour this solution through the strainer, it's very important to stir it up and agitate it so all those clay particles resuspend in the water once again. So you can see once we strained everything out, we've got quite a bit of organic material left behind. We've got sticks, leaves, twigs, anything that was floating to the surface. And if you want to be extra cautious, you can go ahead and clean out your strainer and filter it one more time to catch anything you might have missed. Starting to look a little like chocolate milk. What's interesting about this is every time we pour it back and forth, you notice there's some kind of a sandy residue left behind, and that's because the sand is actually heavier than the clay and sinks down to the bottom as we're pouring it. So theoretically now, if we take 2 containers and we simply transfer it back and forth and clean the sand out every time, eventually most of that sand is going to be reduced and we're going to have a very fine clay. So here we are, guys. What we've got now is a bucket full of clay water, essentially, that has a little bit of sand. We have used gravity and density of the materials inside to filter out the rocks. We've used a strainer to filter off most of the organic materials, and so now we just have a solution of clay suspended in water. And the longer we let this sit, the more of that sand and clay will drop down to the bottom. Now, we don't want the clay to actually settle down yet. We want to extract that first. So all I'm going to do now is use these two containers to cycle them back and forth and extract the layers of sand each time we do. And while they're doing that, it's a good time to drop down to the description and click the link to check out Casper mattresses. My wife and I have been using our Casper mattress for over 2.5 years now, and to date, it is still the most comfortable mattress we've ever used. So here's the deal. While dirt, rocks, and clay are pretty cool to play with, they're not super comfortable to sleep on. And if you do some quick math, you'll realize about 1/3 of your life is spent in bed sleeping. Some people even more than that. So treat your body right and get your sleep in comfort. It's a very worthy investment. Casper is here to help making beautiful and comfortable mattresses even more affordable for you. And when you click the link in the description and use the promo code TheKingOfRandom, you'll get another $50 off. And if you still need a little bit more convincing, check this out. Buying a Casper mattress is completely risk-free. You literally buy the mattress online, they deliver it to your house, you get to try it for 100 days to see if it's worth your money, and if you don't end up liking it, they'll send someone to come pick it up and they'll refund all your money just like that. Of course, chances are you're gonna love it, and if you live in the US or Canada, they'll ship it to your house for free. It shows up at your door in a very small box that'll make you wonder how they even got it in there. I just stripped all the sheets off the bed, so you can see after 2.5 years, this is still the mattress that we're using. It is a really comfortable mattress. It's very enjoyable to sleep on. It's firm, but soft enough to get a good sleep. And for some reason, whenever I sleep at somebody else's house or go to a hotel, I seem to get backaches and a little bit of a headache. That never happens with my Casper mattress. I also like to sleep a bit cooler at night. I don't like to sleep in a sweat, and this mattress is breathable, which helps prevent that from happening. Casper understands the importance of really loving your mattress before you fully commit to it. And by using the internet, they cut out the expensive retailers and pass the savings on to you. Their in-house team of engineers have spent thousands of hours developing the Casper to the point where it's considered obsessively engineered. And that's paid off because after over 25,000 reviews, it's got a rating of 4.9 stars, and it's quickly becoming the internet's favorite mattress. Casper is designed, developed, and assembled in the USA and uses a combination of supportive memory foams that give it just the right sink and just the right bounce. Plus, it's breathable and helps regulate your temperature throughout the night. So, in summary, you get a luxury mattress at an extremely fair price delivered right to your door so you can sleep on it for 100 nights and make sure you absolutely love it, and if you don't, they'll come pick it up and give you all your money back. So treat your body right and invest in a Casper mattress today. You've got nothing to lose and a lifetime of better sleeps to gain. The link is in the description. And with that said, let's get back to making our clay. So there we have it, guys. I poured this back and forth about 4 times, taking out a little bit of fine sand each time we do. Now, we could continue this process almost indefinitely, and we're just at this point getting out some of that really fine silt. But right here we have relatively clear, relatively fine clay water, and the only thing we really need to do with this now is set it down on a counter where it won't be disturbed for about an hour to give the layers a chance to separate. Just for fun, we had some leftover water, so I transferred that into another container. I'm just gonna set these down right here so we can watch them over a period of time and see how they settle. Quick update, guys, we've let this sit for about 5 hours now, and you can see the clay is so fine that it's actually taken quite a bit of time for the water to rise up even to this level. Now, if we let this sit for maybe a day or so, I'm sure that clay would compact even more and we'd have more water on top. However, there's a quicker way to extract the water than that. Now, the first thing we need to do is get this water that we have on top off of the top, and there's a few ways we can do that. We can simply tip it over and pour it out, or we can use something like a siphon to try and suck it out. Now, either option is gonna have its pros and its cons, but ultimately all we wanna do is make sure we get this clay here without any of this stuff here. So first things first, I'm just gonna take this tall glass here. We're gonna just tip this over very slowly, very carefully to get as much of that water off the top as we can. I'm just gonna pour off the top layer of that clay as well, just to extract most of that water. And we'll call that right there pretty good. Most of that's gonna be really fine clay. But you can see it's very, very moist, so we need to clean that up with a towel. Now, the second method of extracting this water is siphoning it. We can use this to suck the fluid up over here, but before it hits our mouth, we can dump it over here and gravity will suck everything out, very similar to a vacuum cleaner. Now to get even more of the moisture out of our clay, we want to use something like a towel or a shirt, something that's very tight knit and has a lot of fibers. In this case, I'm going to take this towel and I'm going to double it over on itself. We almost want to make a piece of fabric that the clay will not go through. We want all of it to stay inside if possible. So we've got a little makeshift filter here. We're going to pour these in. Hopefully it's tight enough that it'll hold the clay inside. Then we can tie it up into a little ball. We can hang it up and let the atmosphere suck the moisture out of it for a few hours until we're just left with the clay itself. And you can see this towel wants to suck down, but we don't want it to. And hopefully this is thick enough that it's not actually going to go through the towel itself. We want to be able to pick this up and see very little, if anything, coming through the bottom of the bucket. We want it to all stay inside. So that's looking pretty good so far. Might even want to clamp that down. Obviously in the wild, in nature, you wouldn't have clamps, but you can improvise with something else. We just don't want the towel to actually suck down into the bucket. Here we go with round 2. Starting to get heavy now. Beautiful. There we go. There's all our clay in our towel, and we're just going to fold this up, tie it off, and hang it for a bit. And now, if everything goes well, we want to take all the edges of this towel, fold them all together, and make a nice little ball of liquid. Oop, that just fell in. It's okay, we can save it. There we go. That's looking very good, very good. All right, so we got our slip knot set. Now all we have to do is shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it. Doesn't have to be clean, just has to be functional. There, what do you think? All right. So this is pretty much what we're going for, guys. We got our clay wrapped up inside the towel, and you can see some moisture dripping off, but a lot of that is relatively clean water. It doesn't have the clay in it because the clay is being trapped by the fibers on the inside of the cloth. Now, if we just let this hang out for a couple of hours, most of that moisture is going to come out, and we should be left with a nice ball of clay. Cool. All right, guys, we are back. It's been about an hour now since we took our bag outside and let it hang off of the railing. Now, in the interest of time, I actually did squeeze the bag a little bit to help encourage a little bit of that moisture to come out a little bit quicker. In doing so, I sacrificed a little bit of the clay itself, but I don't think that's going to jeopardize the proof of concept. So here we are with our towel with most of the water squeezed out of it. If we open this up now and take a look inside, you can see a lot of the clay on the upper edges has started to harden up and is very plastic. The stuff on the inside though is still really liquidy. It's kind of like runny diarrhea. And if we left this out exposed to the air, eventually that moisture would evaporate and the clay would become hard. However, there is a way we can speed things up. There's a way we can cheat, and all we need is a little bit of paper towel. All we're gonna do is rip off a few sheets of paper towel, fold it in half, and we're gonna stick it down on the table like this. Then we're gonna scoop up our clay, put it down in the center of our paper towel, and we're basically just gonna flatten it out. The paper towel is going to absorb a lot of the moisture out of the clay, and as soon as it reaches the consistency we're looking for, we can peel off the paper towel and wrap our clay in saran wrap or a plastic bag for later use. Now again, if you don't have a paper towel, all you have to do is just let this sit out in the open air a little bit longer and let it evaporate on its own, but we're just using this technique to speed the process up a bit. Now I'm just going to take a couple more sheets of paper towel, lay them over top, and help flatten it out from the top side to help absorb the moisture a little bit quicker from up here as well. And now, as easy as that, oh wow, I love this part. Peel this back and take a look at this. We have some very nice, beautiful, ready-to-use clay that just peels off and molds in the palm of your hand. That is amazing. This stuff is very moldable. It's very easy to work with. It's very plastic. You could use this to make a little bowl, a little pot, a little dish, pretty much anything you want. And if you have a countertop with a smooth surface, you can go ahead and throw it down on the countertop and just work it around a little bit to help work out any of the bubbles, the cracks, the crevices, and things of that nature. Now, if your clay gets a little bit too dry, you can add a little bit more water in and work it around to make it a little more plastic. On the other hand, if it's too wet, you can just let it stand out in the open air for a couple of hours to let it evaporate and harden up by itself. Now, before we did this experiment today, I went down to the river and I got a lot more of this river mud, and I let it stand in 5-gallon buckets over a period of 3 days, and I turned it into this. Now, this piece of clay, I worked back and forth a little bit more. I got more of the sand out, and I let it sit overnight until all the water had come to the top, made it a little bit easier to work with. And you can feel, if you just run your finger along the side of this, it almost feels rubbery. It's got a very plastic texture to it, and if we carve into it with something like a fork or a spoon, you can see how it just peels away. Now you can work this, you can roll it, you can use it to make pottery, dishes, pretty much anything you want. And if you were to fire this in an oven or a kiln at the right temperature, you could turn it into pottery, like a terracotta planter pot, and possibly even ceramic. So here you have it, guys. We have successfully turned river mud into blocks of clay that we can now use to turn into pottery, earthenware, and possibly fire into ceramic. All things that we're going to try to do in future project videos. Let's quickly recap how we got here. We started this project this morning by going down to the river and pulling dirt and rocks straight out of the riverbank. We brought the dirt home, we stuck it in a bucket of water, and we swirled it around until everything was broken up. Then we let it sit for a few seconds and poured all that dirty water into a second container. Our first observation was that everything heavy was left behind. All the rocks, the pebbles, and most of the heavy sand. Next, we grabbed a strainer and we poured all the water through that to help pull off any organic materials like leaves, sticks, or anything floating on the top, which in a survival situation would also work with a piece of clothing like your shirt. We transferred the water back and forth a few times, trying to get out as much of the sand as we could, and we're left with a very dirty gray water, which we eventually transferred into a towel, pulled up at all four ends to form a ball, then tied off with a piece of string and let hang on the railing. We let it sit outside for about an hour, then we squeezed the bag to help get rid of any excess moisture, where we brought it inside, opened up the towel, and saw that we had a very slushy clay. We transferred that clay to a paper towel to absorb even more moisture, scraped it off, and ended up with this. A nice ball of clay that we can turn into anything we want. So there you have it, guys. That is how you go down to the river, take the mud, and turn it into a fairly processed clay at home. What we end up doing with this stuff is completely up to you. So let me know what you want to see down in the comments below. Thanks for joining us for this experiment today. We'll be looking for you in the next one. Talk to you then. Hey guys, a quick reminder, there's a link down in the description right now to get yourself a Casper mattress, a luxury sleeping experience with a 100-day free trial. When you go to checkout, remember to use the promo code TheKingOfRandom to get $50 off the mattress of your choice. Good night, sleep tight. You can see right out of the towel there, it makes a pretty nice moldable clay. As easy as that. It really does look like chocolate milk. And clay's not really that bad for your diet. No, it's probably really bad, don't drink it. You can put it on your face.